Well, Jason, congrats.
Thank you.
You passed your PMP. I see that big smile.
Yeah,
So of course, always love having you guys back to do your victory lap and really just chat about your experience, right? Like, how was it? Any issues? And I'm sure our peers here would have tons of questions for you as well.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah. No, the experience, it was interesting. There was actually an issue that came up, and the only thing I could think of at first was why didn't I just take this at home like Bernadine? Like because the test actually crashed, which I was so nervous when that happened because I was well, I'll go back to the beginning. So like in the beginning of the exam, um I was trying to follow like the Scotadoro method and time management and everything, and I was tracking it. And also recommend to you guys don't like catch yourself looking at the clock. Always don't do that, but
Yeah.
definitely check in and see where you're at. So I realized that I was kind of to start in the first segment of 60 questions, I was kind of behind on my pacing. Um, and so when I got up to finishing the 60 questions or the 60 minutes and got to my 60 questions, got to my first break. Um, like I wasn't where I wanted to be time wise. So I like kind of took a break to I used that break that you get, the 10-minute break, to kind of analyze what I was doing wrong. And I realized, and I do this sometimes at work. At work is no problem, but like I realized I was using the mouse to like read sometimes, which is like definitely use the mouse for highlighting and for crossing out answers when you're working through it. But like sometimes I get in the habit of at work, like using the mouse to read. And obviously that takes time to then go back, highlight, then go back, cross out. So I was like, yeah, I just mentally, I was like, I gotta stop doing this. I'm trying to figure out why I was like falling behind with time. And it obviously like in the beginning, like, everything's going, like your emotions, everything, a little nervous, whatever. And so
Yeah.
working through the first part of it. So anyway, I fell behind, but then I ended up catching up. And towards the end of the exam, I had about 15 minutes left to review the last 60. But anyway, in the middle, like at about like 90 minutes left. So I like at that point I was starting to feel good about the exam, like pretty good. Like I didn't know how well, but I felt good. I felt like I was kind of answering things, getting at a pace and rolling. And in the test, I answered a question, and the test just like stopped and it like froze. And I was like, oh no, what's this mean? The clock disappeared and everything. I was like, shit, does this mean sorry, I was like, damn, does this mean I failed? Like, is it just stop if you like fail before you finish? So like then like first it froze, then it like literally just was like request timed out, like when you like lose connection to internet type of error.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, oh no. So then I called the proctor over. She came over and she like kept having me try like retry and refresh. Like it's like the only option I was up there. That wouldn't work. Nothing. I was like, oh no. And she was like,
Wow.
she's like, do you remember where you were at? And I was like, oh, like I remember it was like 90 minutes left. I remember I was at a good pace, but I don't remember which question. And but I was like, I'm like within the last leg almost. And then so then she's like, okay, like I gotta make phone calls. You can go take like a break or whatever. So then like obviously I'm thinking through everything because at first I was feeling good, and then the test froze, and I'm like, oh shoot, what does that even mean? And then I was like, then I'm during my break, I'm just like thinking about all the scenarios. I'm like, there's no way they could pull the test back up where I was at. Like, what if they ask me if I want to start all over right now? I was like thinking about how, like, if I should do that, and then
Right.
what I was gonna do with the wife and having to deal with picking up the kids, like all that stuff. So I was like, I was just trying to mentally prepare myself for like whatever could happen, or if they were just like, oh, sorry, our mistake, but you got to do it a different day. I was just going through all those emotions. So then
Yeah,
like
all the different scenarios.
went through all of that. I went back to the back where the testing room was and checked in with the woman. She was the proctor. She was still on the phone. And she was like, nothing yet. I was like, oh no. So then like I go back and I just sit and I just patiently wait. And I don't remember how long it was, but she finally comes back out and she's like kind of like rushing me. And she's still on the phone, right? I was like, all right, that's weird. Then I walk to the back and they pat you down and everything. So she's like still on the phone, but she's like signing, like pat down, like empty your pockets,
Yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah,
blah. Then like I'm doing all that, and then she's like, go, go, go. And I realized that they pulled the test back up and like the clock was it was running again. Like, like they pulled it all up, everything was running, and it was like, all right, just get back to your seat, start taking it again. So she was rushing me, trying to look out to get back into
yeah,
my
yeah,
seat to
yeah.
get back to the test. But anyway, when I got down to the end, I had like about 15 minutes. So I took that time to kind of go back and review some of the questions I had flagged. in the last in that last leg. So then you know, I did all of that, and then like it's just a weird feeling, like knowing that the results come instantly.
Yeah,
You're kind
that's
of
right.
scared to just, are you sure you're? Because it's like, are you sure you're done? Can't go back. Like then submit, and I'm just like, am I sure? I was like, you know what? I just went in feeling like, you know, I'm as ready as I'm gonna be, and we'll see what happens. So then I submitted, came back, congratulations. Then so I just was like, man, just all the emotions flew through me, just the whole long journey or whatever, and it felt great. And then I just you know, gave a little fist pump, and then I turned around like I'm telling the proctor, you know, I'm ready to get out of here. And then she's kind of smiling because I think at first when I hit it and it was like congratulations, I was like this. And on camera, it probably looks like I failed. Like,
Right.
I don't know, but anyway. So then she ended up coming, and she you know, she asked me if I wanted the case number because there was a case number involved with the test stopper and all that. I told her like, if you need, because she had to fill some stuff out. I was like, if you need me, I'll stay. But like, I'm just trying to get out of here. I passed test trying to get out. So yeah, no, we don't need you, or whatever. But and so then they printed out the results because you at that point you know that you passed, you don't know how well or whatever. And then they printed out the results, and I got it. It was like 3 above targets. So that was great to see. I am curious. Like I know I don't think they do this, but I would still be curious to go back and see what I missed. That's always nice to kind of learn from your mistakes. But yeah, no, definitely really happy with the results.
Well, talk about like roller coasters of emotion, right? Like, I mean, it's the worst feeling ever. I bet you, right? Like you were in the middle of it. It's like, well, do I have to redo this? Because, you know, I'm almost there, but you know, I'm sure it was stressful for you. And I'm glad the proctor was able to help out. Like, I think this was the very first time I've ever heard of any actual system issue for an in-person testing. Usually it's pretty stable. It's really rare that they do run into issue, but I'm glad you at least had a decent experience out of it. But it's managing the emotions, right? And trying to stay zen and okay and to finish off, right? Whatever happens. But no, that was a very interesting story. Again, like I said, I don't think I've ever had any student had any issue with in person, but I'm glad, you know, time management was something that you brought up. You know, you're able to kind of pick it back up to pace and catch it. Questions, the type of questions you get, you know, like I think you were at the 90-minute point, you were feeling good. Did you felt like, you know, a sense of familiarity when you're doing the questions? You know, it's the same approach, the what we look for.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, so one thing, definitely the whole like, I think it's the question hacks throughout the PMP Accelerator, where it really breaks down some of the like things to really look out for, like bad words, stuff like that, and 1,000 faces. It's definitely, they like same question, they put a new face on it. But I'd also say the answers, like you would kind of think that maybe you'll find identical answers. You don't either. So I would say the correct answer still has different faces on it too. So that's something to be mindful of. And I just think it's really, like guys, I'll tell you this, like you don't really need any other content. Definitely just stick with the program. And I do think a quick read through the Agile Practice Guide is good too. Yeah, the whole like the questions and answer thing. There's definitely like similar questions, and it makes you kind of think if you answered the one previously the right way. So like I would just say remain confident throughout the exam, and just go into the exam confident with just like knowing that you're prepared. You know what I mean? So that's what you have to remind yourself of, even in the very beginning when you first go to start to take the test, and you're like, all right, now it's game time. Like I'm in it. You know, you're gonna have that, but then kind of level yourself out. And then going back to even when I was worried about the test after that, when the test crashed, I was just remembering kind of a lot of the stuff with like the Zen and keep it calm and your emotions, all that stuff in the videos and the prep stuff is really important. So definitely kind of take heed to that and pay attention to those things. I say even going back to all the way to the beginning and when Scott's like, how's it going to feel when you pass and all of that. I think those are good things to think about. So definitely, if you guys haven't gone through that thought process yet, definitely do that, because I think it's all, the program's kind of perfect the way it's set up. And I think and everything is important. So, yeah. That's my advice.
Yeah, no, I agree. It kind of lays down all the possibility of what could happen through your mind during the
Hmm.
entire process, right? Like from
Right.
having those emotions and managing those emotions to getting yourself ready. And even if you have issues during the daytime, during the exam time, what do you do, right? What was the number to
Hmm.
dial? Where to go? So Bernadine, exactly. We had the exact same talk with Bernadine where she did her remote testing, and in case she runs into an issue, these are the things she would have to look out for. So agree, totally agree.
Yeah.
um Opening it up to the group, questions for Jason.
I guess I got one. So I just finished day one last night, right?
Hmm.
And I'm going through and watching all the videos, taking all these notes. How much time did you really kind of put into going through each day, right? You should just kind of cram it into one sitting. Because I mean, it was 1 a.m. by the time I was done taking that 50-question quiz,
Hmm.
and I felt like maybe I was rushing through it or whatever. But um, yeah, any tips on just kind of how to approach going through the accelerator?
Absolutely. Great question. One thing I would recommend too, I don't know if you already do this or not, but I would tap into like some of the podcast episodes. I think those are really good too when
Yep.
you're like detached from the content, like if you're driving to work, et cetera, stuff like that. For the videos and the notes, I would suggest not taking as many notes. Like it depends on how many notes you're taking and how thorough you are with your notes. But I know like for me, like I'm like I try to like organize everything, headers and all that. And all that takes time. And as well as when you're taking the notes, um, it's almost like why not just like kind of like read the book and take notes at that point. Like so I think
Mm-hmm.
that it's really about watching the videos and comprehending everything. Cause like Scott did have an episode on his podcast where there was a person saying like, oh, it's taking me forever to get through the videos. Like I'm taking all these notes. And then he literally in his episode, he's like, I know in your mind, like for everybody, like you think you need to take all these notes. And we do, like that's how we're taught, like school and big exams, stuff like that. And he's like, just try for 2 days. And I don't even think he's talking about the 2 full days of full content, but like just try 2 days of going when you're going through videos of not taking any notes and see how you feel after that. And like I would say like after that, I was more conscious of not taking as many notes, taking as long, and then also got to a point where I didn't really take any notes except for like key points I really thought I should like write down. But first, making sure you grasp it from the video. So I would suggest maybe kind of minimizing the notes, at least giving it a try, and seeing how you feel about it. But I would suggest that because listening to some of the podcasts and success stories, there are people who kind of just decided to not take notes. There's people who took a lot of notes, but it does take time to get through the content. It takes you longer, definitely. And you if you get through the videos and you have time before your test, you have time to go back. So like go back and touch on things that maybe you think you need a refresher on. You know what I mean? That'd be my suggestion.
That's a great question, Ben. And what I like about this is when I joined, I think everybody here, I think Senthil was here too, but no one else was. And it's good to see somebody get on out. And I was wondering the same thing what Ben was asking, because I've been trying to take notes too, but I'm just gonna shut her down and just go through it and listen, because I'm on the same page as you. Everything keeps coming up in distractions and things. So, but I'm really happy because like you're the first person I saw get through the whole thing. Because the other people, I was like, I don't know who they are. So
Yeah,
it's good. It's good.
Yeah, man. It's and I was just talking to my wife about this because she's like, yeah, we have another class. I thought we're done now, finally. So I was like, yeah, no, it's time for the victory. And but I was just talking to her about how important I think this right here, this part's important too for exactly what you're saying, Joe. Like being in the trenches with everybody on these calls all the time, and then like seeing somebody get out. It's like it reconfirms that you could do this. Like, and you can. All you guys can do is just get through the content, remain on these calls. Bonita's awesome. Go to the hard questions made easy calls too. I would say just in prep, I know for me, what I had to go back to, and I kind of wrote some stuff down to go back to. And also I had no EVM at all, but I will say that if you go, I don't think all of the EVM is in the accelerator course, but there is, if you go to courses, there is the whole EVM made easy, and there's videos there too, and EVM questions. I came across that like on my last kind of days of review, but Scott has like a method to, it is kind of, technically it is one thing he's trying to ask you to memorize, and it's like this method to get all the formulas down for EVM. And it's not hard. Like at first I'm like, I'm not even gonna take the time to do this. I'm just gonna, I know EV, PV, I know the simple stuff. I'm not gonna try to memorize TCPI and stuff. But if you watch the videos, I'll say like the way he just does it, like I didn't even memorize all his, like he has his whole path to memorizing everything. I didn't memorize all of it, but I kind of memorized the first stuff, and I got to a certain chunk. Then it's like kind of like, if you just think about it and you've seen it multiple times, it's easy to kind of get through the rest. I would say that it's worth it just so you kind of know, just in case EVM does come up. And I don't even think if you got EVM questions, it would be in depth to the point of the TCPI, but it just to further boost your confidence a little bit and know that you have it in the bag if EVM did come up. So I thought that was good to kind of go through, but obviously for me personally, it wasn't needed because it didn't come up on the exam. I went back and touched through on agile stuff, some waterfall. I would say the 7 flows is really good, important content. I'll say my second time around, I paid attention to it and better grasped it than the first time. I got to a point where I was trying to get through the content to book my exam. So I did crash study a little bit, the cram at the end. So going back to the 7 flows and seeing that again, that was an important one. And I think Andrea mentioned it, but one thing I would say that was helped for my confidence as far as being ready was Scott had has a 58 hard questions video, and I went through and I got like an 80 something on that. So like the video is like, here's the question, then he breaks it all down, but like just pause it, do the question yourself, and then like I think I just took notes on what I selected, what I picked, and I watched him go through it, and then it was like 80 something. I was like, all right, that feels good, because these are harder questions. Like the questions on the exam weren't as, I'm not gonna say the exam was easy. I know some people have said that. I wouldn't say the exam's easy, but the questions aren't, you know how on those calls, the questions can stump you for a while, like trying to break it down. It is so important just grasping that process, because on the exam, the questions aren't as hard to break down, and they kind of tell you where you're at a lot of the time. So yeah, that's my little tidbit of suggestions there.
Awesome. No, I think, I've heard it in the last couple of times. A lot of students do find and resonate with, that specific video that you mentioned, Jason, the 58 questions where Scott sit down with a student, because it is kind of like part of a hard question made easy session. And, it's a good chance to see, if you're ready yourself, right? You can only do so many questions, and you can get a sense of how ready you are after that video. It's about 2 hours long.
Yeah.
But I do have to agree. Like, I think with this program, what makes it different from other boot camp is that it's not like another course where you pay a lot of money and like you're forced to memorize a lot of things, whereas there is a process in approaching these topics and these concepts. And more importantly is you actually get support group. Like, you and Joe been through, for however long, and you can see your own peers going through the same program as well. So that's what I really enjoyed when I was a student at the time. And it helps, right, to know you have a buddy to kind of hang on and kind of rely on if there's any questions throughout the course. So do take advantage of, everyone here. If you have any questions, reach out to everyone. And I always find it a sense of community is what I really appreciated during my time in the program.
Yeah, and guys, if you ever have any questions, you need to reach out to me at all, definitely feel free to. I'll add my email in the chat for sure for anybody, just in case you guys remember anything or think of anything else.
I have a feeling we're going to see Jason again as a leader somewhere.
Nice joke.
Probably.
Thanks, Joe.
Probably.
Yeah.
Any questions from anyone?
When did you know, Jason, that you were ready? Like, okay, I'm ready and I should now take this test.
So, good question. My goal, even from the beginning, like October 1st is when I made the call to kind of join this program. And it was after two people were really enthusiastic about it. And it was one person had passed the PMP first try, like me when using this program. And he had done other things too. He did like the boot camp. He did other stuff. And he was like, just use this. And I told him like my whole plan. Like I was like, man, I'm almost through the reader book for the second time. And then after that, then I'm going to do the boot camp. I had this whole process in mind for myself. And then like, I was like, but I will check out this course because he was adamant about it and he passed. Right. And then I had another coworker. She didn't pass. She passed now. She took her exam 2 days before me or something like that. And she passed. It was through her. She passed on her first try through this course, but she had failed twice doing a regular boot camps. And she hit me up like, man, this course, like I said, like, you know, interested, and I got a call from Scott. And she was like so like enthusiastic about it. And she took her time through this because life, just like everybody else. But she finally got to the end and she took the exam and she did great. So anyway, in terms of being ready, like getting through all of the content and just kind of making sure you grasp things and understood them, I think is important. So like going back and like the questions and stuff, I would say don't grade yourself too hard with the simulator. I think the way you're approaching questions, the hard questions made easy and on these calls and on those calls, and then also on your own. Like I definitely recommend that Scott video, the 2-hour one. It just, if you have the process down of how this group approaches answering questions, and then also just understanding the whole flow of how the project should be, you've really got it down because it's all like situational. There's no definitions. Like it's like I was talking to my boss today and just talking about how during his time when he was studying for it, how he was doing all the memorizing thing. He did the whole memorize thing, data dump at the test. He passed, but like he was talking about how much work he had to do. And I didn't even say it, but I wanted to think about like how you don't. I wanted to ask him actually, did he feel like he needed to memorize everything when he got to the test? Like we were just having light discussion, but like you don't need to memorize stuff. And like and I'll tell anybody. I told somebody else. I'm in his apartment complex right now, and I go to the lobby pretty much for all my studying and classes when we were going through this. And somebody overheard it, and I kind of one of the calls, and I recommended him. I was like, man, just go check it out. And I think he actually joined the course now. So yeah, no, I swear by this course, man, definitely. And that's my suggestion with being ready. I think that you gotta get to a point where you like, if you understand everything and you're breaking down everything, you've got it on the exam with breaking down those questions and answering them. And like that day, I think it's day 4 with the whole like answering questions thing. I would say it's definitely important. I know it's different than actual content, but it is just as important. Same thing with the mental in the beginning and at the end. Those are important too. But yeah, no, it's just about feeling confident, man. And even during the exam, I just like, you know, the nerves still get you when you get there. I don't know if everybody gets nerves, but I hadn't taken an exam in a while. You know what I mean? Like I'm far removed from college at this point. So it was, yeah, you know, the emotions were there, but getting into the test, getting settled, figuring out what I was doing wrong in the first part of it, those were all big things. Readjusting, and I was just right on pace and good. Time management is key though, like for anybody. So I noticed I wasn't worried going in because during the simulator questions, like I was kind of like ahead, like I was at like a minute per question or something like that. So I'm just thinking like, oh, I'm going to exam, I'm good. And I think my only problem was using the mouse to actually read questions because I was noticing it's actually a distraction. I noticed I had to go back and read again, like, and that shouldn't be the case. If you go read the question, like I was doing it the same way in the program, but using the mouse, I was like, wait, hold on, and I was going back, and it wasn't necessary. I shouldn't have had to do that on like every question. So yeah. But yeah, once you go through this program, man, you'll be ready. Just make sure you understand and comprehend everything, which you will. just the way it's laid out, you should. You'll be
Yeah.
fine.
And Jason, I think every day you were spending like what, a couple hours every
Yeah.
day? Did you
Yeah.
took like a day off in any of the week, or just
Do
to
you
get
mean
a
like
sense of like
to,
for other students to get a sense of like how much time, do they need to
oh,
find some sort of commitment to the
yeah. So I had so, and it might be important to mention, like, everybody's got stuff going on with life. Like, I had before this, I was like I was studying with the reader book, and I actually had twins, and this was before the test exam changed. And I'm the first kids, and it ended up being twins. But I was like thinking like, oh, the kids will come, and then I'll be busy for a little bit, but then I can get back to studying and do it before December. They were born in September, and and that just didn't that was a stupid way of thinking, right? So that part of life got in the way, beautiful part of life. But anyway, took some time. They got to a certain point where it was a little easier to take care of both of them, and they were kind of on a schedule. So I was like, all right, now is the time to jump back into the PMP. The test format had already changed. So I bought the new reader book that with the Agile, I guess, added or whatever. And then we had house fire. So then I ended up here in this apartment, and it's just been a crazy roller coaster. And like, I did not know, like, I knew that I wanted to take this exam pass before Thanksgiving. That was my goal, even from that call I was saying back on October 1st. But even when I got through the content and booked went to look to book the exam, everything was taken up in like Virginia, DC, Maryland barely had openings. And I'm just like, oh shoot. And then like, it was like exam on the 13th, 15th. And that was like a few days from when I'm looking to take it. I was like, nah, I don't feel quite ready for that yet. So like the 22nd was the only other glaring thing there aside from like next year. And I think someone else mentioned it before. If you book like a test date, that also is going to prep you to like force you to kind of lock in. But anyway, going back to mentioning all that stuff with life, I just had like, I would recommend for anybody trying to find a schedule that you can stick to. Like for me, it was once the kids are asleep, right when I go to bed, I'll try to eat something. The wife will try to have dinner ready. Then I would go to the lounge and just put in time between 7:30, 8 to like 10:30, not trying to push it. I'm supposed to be to work every morning at 6, so that just sucks. But like, yeah, just trying to push like 2 to 3 hours every night. Then on the weekends, I would try to get time in. There'd be days where I could put extra 1 to 2 hours on the weekend each day, but then other times where I couldn't, just obviously just with the weekend. But yeah, just trying to find a schedule. I know some people it's just impossible too, but that would be my suggestion. Trying to find a schedule where you could use that time, and then get other moments where you could obviously study too. But like if you have a schedule, you have like kind of a base, and like at minimum, if you don't get to stuff, like maybe you try to squeeze in at lunch and stuff, and like work happens. If you have this schedule later in the day, for sure, like I'll at least get some content in, and towards the end of the day or whatever, or in the morning if that's easier for people. But yeah.
Yep.
Did you say that you have twins?
Yeah.
And you had a house fire?
Had a house fire, man. It's been crazy.
You live in an apartment. No one has an excuse then. I mean,
yeah, no
we're all looking at it.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say all that to make people feel like everybody's got life stuff. But I just was bringing it up because I was just
you have to say that because
yeah.
Well, you're a humble guy, but you have to say that because like we don't have excuses then. we got to find a place to do this because you did it, man. And you said you're in DMV.
Yeah, I'm in DMV. I'm in Woodbridge, and I work out in Alexandria. So yeah,
I'm in DC.
Okay, all right, nice, man. Yeah, that's where I took the test. Took it on K and 9. So yeah, that was kind of the only thing open aside from Maryland, which had like sooner dates, and I just didn't feel quite ready because it wasn't gonna allow me time to go back and review stuff. It would have been like that's it, and I felt like I know I needed to like just review, touch up on things, make sure I go through some things a second time, make sure I grasped everything. So I went through a couple of things like the Agile 7 flows, those 58 questions. It was important. Yeah, and the questions videos where he talks about question hacks. So yeah.
Amazing. At least, I know it's been a shitty year, at least some good news to finish off the year. Yeah. And you got beautiful twins, and no, it's something definitely worth celebrating. Anyway, before I let Jason enjoy the rest of his Tuesday evenings, any final questions for Jason?
One comment.
Yes.
Jason,
Congratulations. Like, I just want to congratulate him. Like,
Thank you.
really
Thank
good.
you,
Thanks
Spencer.
for sharing all the tips, and it was really good.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
answered all my questions. So I'm like, okay, now I know what to do. I know my routine.
Yeah, I tried to touch on things that I know I was thinking about. So yeah, I just wanted to pass that off to you guys because on this you may not be thinking about it right away to ask certain things. So yeah, I just tried to share as much as I
Yeah,
can.
totally.
And you guys got this. Just stick to it. Try to, like I said, try to get the schedule to get through the actual content in the videos, but show up to the calls and put the effort in. I mean, you're forced once you're on the call, you're kind of forced once your name is called to work, but like, try to grasp everything, comprehend everything, and chip into on even when it's not your question, like if there's an opening too, if you got suggestions, because it's how you learn. Definitely important. So yeah. And also, Bonita's got a great episode on the podcast. That's another reason to go check out the podcast.
Yeah,
her interviews on there.
Yeah, I didn't realize that as well. And
It's
I
a good
think,
episode too. It's a good episode.
yeah, Scott slipped that in. I think he slipped some bonus videos in the course. So amazing. Thank you for that, Jason. Sorry, Joe, you had a comment you wanted to make.
oh, I just wanted to say in reference to Martin. You ever seen the show Martin, Jason?
Oh yeah.
It's fitting to say get to stepping.
Oh yeah. Hey, you guys got it. Just stick with it. Happy for all you guys. You guys will be here on this side. Just keep thinking about that. Even on test day, think through that, like how it's gonna feel on the other side. It's great, and you guys will all be there. So happy for you guys. Stick with it. Best of luck, guys. You guys got this. No stress. And thank you, Bonita.
Not at all.
For everything. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you, Jason.